Hello, good day. I am Cruz from Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. In this video, I'm going to take storytelling to another level by integrating different ICT tools. Alright everyone, kindly stand up. Before we start our day, let's ask for God's guidance. Student A, kindly lead the prayer. Amen. Good afternoon, grade 12. Please be seated. Secretary, how many are we today? And who are the absentees if there's any? Alright, thank you, Secretary. Everyone, I want you all to look under your chairs and clean up those tiny pieces of papers. Kindly align your chairs as well. To start our lesson, we will begin with a motivation entitled Quanti What? Now, allow me to read the directions. The teacher will pick 3 students via wheel of names to go in front to choose a paper that has questions about quantitative research. And the first student is... Thank you very much for your insights and cooperation. Now that you are all energized, I am formally welcoming you to our lesson. Here are the learning outcomes. First, define what is quantitative research. Second, appreciate quantitative research in multiple fields, developing a deeper understanding of its relevance in real-world contexts. Third, analyze the titles that fall under the quantitative research. Let's define what is quantitative research. In here, it says that quantitative research uses scientifically collected and statistically analyzed data to investigate observable phenomena. So, it is defined that quantitative research has a certain method which is scientific. It tackles about numbers, data, and statistics to observe a certain phenomena. When we say phenomena, it is the research gap or the research problem that we are talking about. In line with that, as for our next slide, a phenomenon is any existing or observable fact or situation that we want to unearth further or understand. When we say the term unearth, it meant to solve or to comprehend. So quantitative research has a purpose of understanding and comprehending a certain phenomena that solves the research gap. Next, it is scientific for the fact that it uses a scientific method in designing and collecting numerical data. So we can conclude in here that quantitative research has talks about the numbers, the statistics, and the data in order to observe a certain phenomena. Next, once a data is collected, it will undergo statistical analysis like Pearson's R, t-test, and analysis of variance. It is known as ANOVA, and it is used for analysis. So meaning to say, we have here the data gathering or the data collection in which the different variables, the different statistics, the data will undergo to a certain statistical method. And after the analysis, we have here the next slide. Since data is analyzed statistically, it is imperative that the data obtained must be numerical and quantifiable. Hence, its name quantitative research. So, we can say that quantitative research talks about any quantifiable variables and numeracies data. It should be countable and not and comprehensible in order for the viewer, for the readers to understand. So when we say quantitative research, it talks about the quantity. It answers the term how many. Now that you know what is the meaning of quantitative research, we will now tackle the 4 kinds of quantitative research that are commonly used by the students. For the first one, we have descriptive research. Descriptive research aims to accurately and systematically describe a population, situation, or phenomenon. It can answer what, where, and when, and how questions, but not the why questions. So, descriptive research, from the name itself, it describes a certain population, situation, or phenomenon. Commonly, in different research, for examples, you can see here the term the effects, the impact, wherein it perfectly describes a certain problem or the situation or the phenomenon. So in here, it says that it can answer what, where, when, and how questions, but never the why questions. And the reason for that is because the question why is not answerable by a describable thing. It meant to explain, which is not the scope of the descriptive research. The second one is correlational research. Correlational research is a type of non-experimental research method in which a researcher measures two variables and understands and assess the statistical relationship between them with no influence from any extraneous variable. So, again, from the term itself, from the name itself, we have here the correlational. It describes what is the relationship between the two variables without interfering with those two variables. So we just observe and we identify what is the relationship, what are the similarities, what are the differences of these two variables. So as simple as that, correlational research observes the relationship with the two variables with no other influence or any interference. The third one is the causal comparative research. Causal comparative research is a methodology used to identify cause-effect relationships between independent and dependent variables. So, comparing to the first two type of research that we have discussed, causal comparative is kind of different because it is used to identify the cause and the effect, hence the name causal and comparative. In here, we are not just observing and comparing the similarities and differences. We are now identifying the reasons and the result of that certain variable. In here, we have the independent and dependent variable. So meaning to say, there is an interference, there is an influence with the different variables that are being observed when you use this type of research. The last and the fourth one is the experimental research. Experimental research is a cornerstone of scientific inquiry, providing a systematic approach to understanding cause and effect relationships and advancing knowledge to various fields. So, unlike the first three type of research, which is one is to describe, the second one is to relate the similarities and differences. The third one is to compare and contrast the cause and effect. But in experimental research, all three types of research are present, in which experimental research also describe, analyze the similarities and differences, and also tackles the cause and effect relationships. So, experimental research is said to be the cornerstone of scientific inquiry. It is because experimental research is more of a trial and error, in which the researchers will find the main gap of the research problem, and then will solve it via using the method of scientific. So there is a process wherein the researcher need to follow in order for the research gap to close and to solve that certain observable phenomenon. And with that, we are done discussing what is quantitative research and as well as the different types of quantitative research. So, does any one of you have any questions? None? Alright, so with that, we will be having our mini exercise. So again, allow me to read the directions. Using Poplet, create a Venn diagram that shows the similarities and differences of qualitative and quantitative research. I will be giving you guys 5 minutes to do that, to do this mini exercise. Alright, since you are all done now, we have here the guide questions. First one, after the discussion, what did you understand about quantitative research? Thank you very much, Student B, for answering. Next, how will you integrate this lesson in your everyday life? Thank you very much, Student C, for your answer. Next, in what aspect of lesson do you think will help you in the future? Thank you very much for answering, Student D. And since you guys have now the knowledge, and I am certain that you guys understand the very gist of our lesson, let's now have our evaluation. So, in this evaluation, we have the directions. Analyze the following titles and choose which one is a quantitative research title. Here is our number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. And at the back of your paper, I want you to construct a 150-word essay that tackles all the things that you learned about the quantitative research. So we have here the rubrics: cleanliness, grammar, and organization. Thank you very much for lending your ears and listening attentively during our class discussion. You guys have high scores, reflecting that you guys have understand our lesson for today. And with that, stand up. Goodbye and thank you, grade 12.